Hello, and welcome. And today I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I thought might be important um, to create a degree of trust between me as a host and the channel uh, and you as a viewer. I think it's important that you understand where I am coming from when I say the thing that I do on the channel when I interview people. I think it's important that you know why I'm interviewing people, what it is that I'm trying to create, what is the objective, and all that. But I'll come back to that. Maybe before I go into that, I this is I think an opportunity to ask you to subscribe to the channel. I don't usually ask you to do that, but maybe because I don't have a guest today, I could use it as an opportunity. I think the the easiest and simplest way for you to support the channel would be by subscribing. If you believe in the work we do, of course, if you believe that we are creating something that is useful to you and that you think could be useful to other people. So if you take that view, please feel free to subscribe and to share and all the other jazz that people on YouTube say. Now, back to the issue. I think it's important that that you are aware of the fact that I have my own beliefs and biases and prejudice even that I bring to the channel, and those beliefs and biases and prejudice would be inevitably reflected in how I frame my questions, how I challenge my guests and all that. And I don't think anybody should pretend otherwise. I know that people say they are completely objective, they are completely non-partisan, and they don't bring any personal biases to the table. But that is a lie. I think for me, what is important is that I am open about them, so that you know where I'm coming from. I think it's very important for trust, for for my credibility, for the credibility of the channel, and a lot of other things. So, because I do well, I bring on guests principally to talk about Tigray, about Eritrea, about Ethiopia. Um, I thought I would share my views, or at least on the bigger issues that my inform my approach, let's say. The first one is that the Tigray war was genocide, that Ethiopia and Eritrea committed genocide against Tigrayans. For me, that claim is as much a fact as the claim that 2 plus 2 is 4. That I have no doubt in my mind that what Abiy and Isaias did in Tigray was genocidal. Now, this is not some strong view that I happen to hold. This is something that is based on evidence, based on fact. And if you really want to litigate this issue, we could have another session where I present the evidence compiled by the New Lines Institute report, for instance, that most of you will have read. But I don't think you need any material to convince yourself that what Abiy and Isaias did in Tigray was genocidal. If we talk about the pre-war narrative, most notably that infamous line that the best way to catch the fish being the Tigrayan people, was by drying the sea. Well, sorry, the fish was the TPLF, and the sea was the Tigrayan people. Now you remember that, and if you remember the thing that Abiy officials were saying during the war, like Daniel Kibret, for instance, that we have to weed Tigrayans out of Ethiopia, that with the total elimination of Tigrayans from Ethiopia, finally peace will prevail in the country. Literally, that was what Daniel was saying. Um, if you if you remember what Abiy was saying during the war, um, likening the Tigrans to all sorts of things, um, cancer and weed, and even Facebook had to remove Abiy Ahmed's post. Um, and Facebook was so tolerant, so much so that people were murdered because of what Facebook was allowing people to post. I think the the prominent example is that of the Tigran professor in Bahar who who was murdered after Amhara activists literally called on residents in Bahar to murder him, and some residents in Bahar followed through on the instruction on Facebook and murdered him. So Facebook was tolerant to those kind of calls for killing Tigrans, but even Facebook couldn't tolerate Abiy Ahmed's rhetoric during the war. Now we forget the fact that close to 1 million Tigrans perished. Well, I shouldn't use the passive voice. That Abiy and Isaias killed close to 1 million Tigrans. So I don't think there should be any doubt among you, if you are an honest person with a degree of self-respect, I don't see why you should have any doubt that it was a genocide. At least if you are somebody who is interested in forming views and opinions based on fact. If you well, if you are somebody who doesn't value fact, who's not interested in what the reality is, who is only driven by hatred towards Tigrans, then maybe you could deny the Tigray genocide because that is the whole point of you. But if you are an honest person, I don't see why you should deny that. The other point that seems to cause people some unease when I say it is that Ethiopia and Eritrea started the war. Again, this is very, very, very clear, and anybody who is reasonably informed, who is honest, um, should shouldn't have any hesitation in that belief. If you read the New York Times, where was it I forgot the reporter, but I think I should have the just to remind. Yeah, Declan Walsh wrote how Abiy and Isaias planned for the Tigray war, how Abiy and Isaias had met 14 times before the Tigray war to plan for the war, and how there was a transport of ammunition from Ethiopia to Eritrea because they planned to encircle Tigray, because they planned to launch a simultaneous attack against Tigray from Ethiopia and Eritrea. Or if you read some of the reports that we have done on Tghat, there shouldn't be any doubt that Ethiopia and Eritrea wanted the war. It was a war of choice for them, and they started the war. Now, when this when people talk about whom started the war, they tend to focus on whom shot the first bullet. Now, maybe in legal and academic matters, that discussion might be important. Who shot the first bullet? And it could well be that it was the TPLF. And I think the TPLF admitted as much that they shot the first bullet, although it could have been for propaganda, because as we now know, the TPLF um, lies about a lot of things if they think it is in their interest. But it doesn't really matter whether the TPLF shot the first bullet or not. The war was always coming, and there shouldn't be any doubt among you. And you don't. It's not in your interest to deny that. It's not in your interest to deny what is otherwise established among sensible people. There is no doubt about who started the war. That whether the TPLF shot the first bullets or not doesn't really matter in the bigger picture terms. So for me, these are facts. And when I interview people, when I hold discussions with people, I say these things as though they were facts. Well, because they are facts. So I don't agree with those of you who say that when I state those things, that I am being partisan, that I am trying to push a partisan agenda, that I'm trying to support the TPLF. As far as I'm concerned, when I say Tigray genocide, it is as much an established fact as the Rwanda genocide. There is no reason why I should have any doubt about that. And more importantly, there is no reason why you should have any doubt about that. If you are an honest, self-respecting person, which this might be the time to make a digression, which we expect you to be, because we have assumptions about the kind of people who watch our content on Tghat. We expect you to be intelligent. We expect you to be self-respecting. We expect you to be the kind of person who is happy to see various viewpoints, who might disagree with me politically, who might disagree with the people that I bring on politically, but is otherwise able to listen in, to process, and to change his or her views, depending on what is being said. If what is being said is supported by evidence or is reasoned well, that is the kind of audience that we believe we have on Tghat, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing the interviews, or we wouldn't be producing content for Tghat if we didn't have those assumptions about the kind of people for whom we are producing content. If it was about producing sensational content that doesn't respect you as a human being, then that is what we would be doing. But we're not interested in doing that. We're not interested in producing sensational content. We are only interested in producing content that creates understanding. Which brings me to my final point, which is that we are trying to produce content that helps us understand a given problem better. And there are a number of problems that we believe a lot of people need to understand in relation to Ethiopia. For example, in relation to Ethiopia, we believe that the current federal arrangement is not working. And we believe that we don't really know why, because various arrangements have been tried in Ethiopia, but none of them has worked, as we all know. And we want to get to the bottom of things. Why is it that the 1991 federal arrangement hasn't worked? Some people say because it was ethnic federalism. Some people say because it wasn't always going to bring about economic development. Some people say a number of other things, but we bring on people who have written books, who have written research articles about the very problem. For example, I think my last two interviews were with people who have studied Ethiopia, who have written articles, and the hope or the objective on my part is to help you understand the problem, because we believe Ethiopians should should be able to create a system that allows for human flourishing. And so far, for one reason or another, they haven't. And we think this to be a painful fact that should change. And another problem that we want to create a degree of understanding is the relationship between Ethiopia and Eritrea. These are two countries. These are two people who are historically related, as much as some people want to deny that. And with better knowledge, with better system, we should be able to live in harmony. But for various reasons, that hasn't happened. And we want to bring on guests that tell us about why it is that relations between Ethiopia and Eritrea haven't worked, and how is it that these two people, these two countries could come together, and especially Ethiopians and Eritreans. So this is in relation to Ethiopia and Eritrea and politics and economics and all that. But we also interview people who educate us on non-political kind of universal matters like artificial intelligence or technology or scientific matters or philosophical matters. And the hope is that we we want again to help create understanding on these important matters, because they are going to be, as most of you will be aware of by now, um, artificial intelligence, for instance, is going to be very, very critical for nation development, or for all facets of life. Actually, if you listen um, to the AI prophets today, and we want to create a degree of understanding about these matters because we believe that they are going to be very, very important. What does artificial intelligence mean for poor people in Ethiopia and in Eritrea and those things? So that is the overarching objective we have. And we believe that the content we produce should be useful to people from Eritrea, from Ethiopia, from other places as well. And we're not trying to push any partisan agenda, except insofar as you misconstrue my stating a fact, for instance, that Ethiopia and Eritrea committed a genocide, is a partisan agenda. If you think that is a partisan agenda, then there's nothing that could be done. Otherwise, the what I'm trying to do, what as a channel, and I have people who help me with this. What we are trying to do is to create content that makes you a better human being, because you understand a given problem better for watching our content. At least that is the maybe optimistic view. And I think I should stop here, but I thought this was very, very important because I want you to know where I'm coming from, so that next time I say Tigray genocide as a matter of fact, you don't accuse me of being partisan. Or next time I say Ethiopia and Eritrea started the Tigray war, you don't accuse me of being partisan. You understand the beliefs that I have. Now, if for some reason I were to change my views about these matters, I would be the first one to let you know that I have changed, and everything that I do from there on would also reflect my the the change in my understanding. So that is how it goes. But I should leave it at that. Um, but as I said in the beginning, please do subscribe, and I'm going to come back with more interviews with more interesting people. Bye bye.